focaccia. Am I swearing at you? No, I'm not. It's a delicious bread. It's crispy on the outside, it's soft, fluffy, bubbly on the inside. It's a great addition to any meal. And you can make it in 10 minutes. You don't believe me? Stick around, I will show you how. So, for the actual making of our bread, basic main ingredient is of course going to be flour. Now I'm using 00 flour. You don't need to, all-purpose flour will work, but the 00 flour will give you a better structure. It should be lighter, more bubbly. I use a little bit of sugar. I add always a little bit of salt, some olive oil, some yeast, and of course some warm water. I will be including the recipe in the description, so you don't have to try and follow the amounts at the moment. Now I always start by adding a little bit of sugar to my warm water. I want the yeast to be activated, and the sugar feeds the yeast and it just seems to work a little bit better. I do not add salt at this stage. The salt and the yeast do not get along, and I don't want the salt to kill the yeast off. Mix your water, sugar, yeast. Add to this some of your olive oil, or all of your olive oil. And I add normally about half of the flour to start. After I have half of the flour added, that's when I add the salt into it. After the salt has been added, then you can mix it around and add in the rest of the flour solution. This is going to be a so-called no-knead bread. Focaccia can be made by hand, it can be made using a machine, or you can do it this way, which is basically going to involve pulling and stretching and folding the dough over on itself, but it's very, very easy. This now needs to be mixed up really well. It's too wet to do by hand. I suppose you could do it. It is going to stick and be a bit of a mess. You could coat your hands in either oil or water and try and mix it by hand. But the beauty of this recipe is that it is a no-knead dough, and you don't need to do any of that. Once you have this all incorporated, basically cover it up with a tea towel, leave it in a warm place, let it sit for half an hour or so, and then you will start the first phase of pulling and stretching and folding the dough over on itself. That will be repeated a few times, maybe 4, maybe 5 times, depending how quickly the gluten is built up. And that is basically the gist of getting this dough together. Time to have a look at what our dough is doing. It's risen up quite nicely. Now this is the important part with no-knead focaccia or a no-knead bread. You want to pull it up, stretch it, kind of like fold it over. Do that 4 times, and we're going to do that. It's been half an hour, we'll do it now, and we'll repeat it 3 more times with half an hour intervals. You want your hand to be wet, and the idea is to grab it, lift it, and pull. Wet your hand, turn it 90 degrees, lift, fold it over. Keep your hand wet. Grab it from the bottom, pull. The idea with this is to develop the gluten. You might have to do this 4 times, you might have to do it 5 times. You want to get it to start stretching, developing the gluten. Pull it, stretch it, leave it. Half an hour and we'll come back to it. At the 1 hour mark, it's risen quite a bit yet again. Same as last time, wet hand, reach in, grab it, and now it's stretching a lot better, it's not breaking. Turn 90 degrees, wet hand, really get in there. It's developing the gluten now. Probably will have to do this twice, maybe even 3 times still. But as you can see, the gluten is starting to develop. It is starting to stretch. Fold it over and leave it for half an hour. While our dough is still rising, flavors for our bread, for our focaccia. You can basically do whatever you like. I really like the combination of tomato, rosemary and garlic, so that's what I'm going to be going with today. Normally I would cut these in half, but these are so small that I'm not going to bother. So I have some fresh rosemary here. Strip that off the stalk. These I will put a little bit of oil on them. It just helps for that they don't burn in the oven. The noise in the background is our dogs playing. Going to finely slice the garlic. Thin slivers of garlic. They'll get pushed into the dough before it gets put into the oven. In addition to that, I will be adding a little bit of salt, nothing else. But I'm quite happy with that. It's getting some bubbles in it. It's looking pretty good. So we'll take our container that's got a little bit of spray in it, non-stick, just to make sure that it doesn't stick. In the bottom, quite generous with the olive oil. Focaccia really needs oil. I think we can now put our dough in. And here we are with our dough. Time to make the dimples. You can see it's bubbly. Tester's coming to have a look yet again. Then we're going to put some tomatoes in. Dot these all around. You can use potato, you can use, I suppose, bits of feta cheese. Now the Italians would go mad, you can't use feta. Of course you can. You can use whatever you like. You can stick in here whatever you choose. So we've got quite a lot of tomatoes. Put some slivers of garlic and rosemary, because why not? I can assure you this is going to be spectacular. And while it's not coming off the grill, believe me, have a braai, have a barbecue party and have this as one of the sides. I don't think your guests are going to be upset at you. And I suppose you could cook this on the grill should you wish. I suppose I could have done that today, but couldn't have been bothered to get a fire going just for this. Some more olive oil on the top. Then we're going to add a little bit of salt, flaky salt. This is actually smoked salt. No particular reason for having smoked salt. It was the first salt that I grabbed out of the cupboard. This goes into an oven, 220 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. "23 minutes cooking time and our focaccia is ready." Try and get it out of the hot container without burning myself too much. And I must say, this is looking pretty good. But then I say that probably about most things. It's crispy on the outside. It's got some bubbles. It's also bloody hot. Perfect on its own. Makes a great light lunch with some salad. You can drizzle some more olive oil over it if you like. You can fill it with some ham, some cheese. I think I'm just going to be eating this plain, just like this. Start to finish, probably just over about 3.5 hours, but actual work involved, very little. There you have, nice, fluffy, crispy on the outside focaccia. Enjoy. If you're enjoying the videos, please like, subscribe, it helps me a lot. And I will see you the next time when I do something maybe off the grill. Keep well, take care, cheers.